All right, so here we are. It looks like we start with Kaitlyn's infection monkey.
Yeah, so here's a good idea. So much like a vaccine for humans, we now have sort of disabled malware for testing machines to build up their defenses. And that's what this software is, Infection Monkey. It pretends to be a worm of sorts that makes use of various RCEs and 0 days and bugs and stuff to get around a network. And in fact, and just report back like how successful it was. And I think this is a great idea if you want to test your network, if you want to see if it's going to withstand, Emotet or something. You can run this instead, and it's just like I said, it's like a immunity shot. You take the virus, but you remove the bad stuff, and you build your defenses with it.
No, this sounds great. I know there's commercial products that do it, and there's a big suite called Caldera that do it, but this looks like it might be a simpler version of the same thing.
Yeah, it's open source, so it's free.
So it's Caldera, I think. Anyway, that's good.
Yeah,
this looks awesome.
Yeah. Right, and then I learned about this. There was a tweet about kill.exe, which I did not know about. And that caught my attention, so I looked into it. These guys say the Microsoft, so what's going on here, which I finally figured out, is Microsoft has a list of things you ought to block. There's this thing called Windows Defender Application Control, and this will block certain executables from running. They're trying to do something about living off the land attacks. So Microsoft has made a list of which products you should be blocking. And so people, of course, are using that as a list of cool things to research. There must be a reason why Microsoft wants you to block all these things. And there is. These are official Microsoft products, which would count as living off the land if you haven't added block rules. So this is an exciting area. And I saw bitsadmin in a list, not this one, but one of these lists. Anyway, so kill.exe is something Microsoft made to kill processes, and it has a buffer overflow. So you can use it for privilege escalation. Yeah, I thought Kaitlyn would like that one.
Nice.
And so this is just like every time Microsoft puts out a patch, everybody reverse engineers the patch and the worm comes out. So when Microsoft put out this list of, these products we made are too dangerous to use, you better block them, I say, they are? Ooh, dangerous. Why are they dangerous, one wonders? One wonders what bad thing could you do with them? And so here's a process, here's a proof of concept. And, so apparently you get control of the instruction pointer through the structured exception handler here. So this sounds like it fit right in the exploit development class and good, clean fun. And apparently we should all be using WDEC. Anyway, that's more fun stuff to play with. And Voip.
Yeah, this is kind of a cool. Attack, where essentially they're turning this VoIP system into a robocalling botnet, essentially.
That's what we need.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like a nice little throwback to have some phone hacking here. So
VoIP calls are getting out of control. I must get like 6 a day now.
Yeah, same. And it's funny because I changed phone services, and I had a brand new temporary number for a little bit until I ported my old number in. And within hours of getting this new phone number, I was just getting deluged with spam calls.
Yeah.
So make sure if you're running an enterprise PBX or VoIP system, you better apply whatever patches there are out there.
Yeah, I thought this was pretty good. They actually just sell your VoIP service to other people to use.
Yep.
So it's like
the
people that make them and then rent it out to somebody else who might want to push crypto.
Yep. And apparently, just like with a lot of the ransomware, they've got like a full service team and a service desk you can call. And I'm like, do you guys have SLAs for this product?
Well, this is the thing that, when I started getting into hacking, it kind of challenges your idea that the world is good and evil and black and white. There's a whole gray and a whole dark market that in many ways just resembles the other one.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It gets hard to tell the good guys from the bad guys sometimes. All right, and then we got, GitHub, code injection. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, so apparently you are able, an attacker can take over repositories and write to them through GitHub Actions. GitHub knows about this and is actually deprecating the two workflow commands that are causing this issue. But they're doing that next month. So if an attacker wants to do that, they still have some time to.
And is action something that's turned on by default for everything?
It's turned on with Visual Studio.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you have Visual Studio and you're using GitHub, you're probably using this set environment and add path commands that are the way an attacker can get in.
Well, it sounds like it's not Visual Studio. It's just the Visual Studio is one that got attacked, but I'm not sure. But I mean,
so that's the medium, basically.
Everybody else on GitHub, we could be injecting malware into their stuff. That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, but it's going away. It's going away by next month. So, you know.
Yeah.
Do it now.
Good, clean fun. Yeah. All right. And then we got, censored the world socialists. Oh, I didn't expect this. Wait, you're on mute.
I am on mute.
Yes.
Yes. So we've talked about this before about government overreach on the internet. And it's also important to know that there's also some corporate overreach on the internet. In particular, Google has been found to been blocking some sites that aren't particularly objectionable.
What?
Yeah, no. So what happened is Google was asked by I believe Congress, what left-wing websites are you censoring? Because I know you've been censoring things like, the fake news and Nazi sites and stuff like that, which you kind of understand. But one of the answers was this website, the World Socialist website, and if you go there, and this is actually their website. So this is their article reporting on their stuff. It's just a really tame website, but it's obviously very, left-wing and socialist. And it's important to remember that in America, we sometimes divide ourselves by, Republican or Democrat or, liberal, conservative, but we really only have one party. And of course, that's the party of capitalism. And so when these corporations like Google control most of our searches, one of the major biases you're going to find in our technologies is a pro-capitalist bias.
So why did they block it? What rule did it break?
It didn't break any rules as far as I know, other than being left-winging, and Google wanted to appear neutral and didn't want socialist stuff on their website coming up. If they were blocking right-wing stuff that was talking about Nazis, doing bad things to minorities, certainly, both sides are equally at fault. So let's ban some socialist content.
Well, there must be something actually objectionable on the left, like people calling for a violent revolution or something. You could block them.
I read this entire article. I looked for other articles. I couldn't find anything that would justify blocking this website, other than it obviously being, very left-wing.
And I watched the way Twitter blocked Trump, like finally, when it looks like he's going to lose power, they finally block him and kick him off for a while and stuff. It's obviously these guys have no idea what to block. And I really don't blame them, because there's no clarity from the government or from society at large about what's objectionable. It's sort of like when people decide to block all the porn and all the things that might possibly offend parents, and then they find out that's pretty much everything. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't think there's any way out of this. No simple solution. But it would be nice if they had some kind of rules and some kind of process where you could appeal and say, I didn't break those rules. That might be nice.
Yeah.
Anyway. So then we got, Geardrift. Yeah, this is a new plugin. You can add plugins to Geardrift, which I didn't know, but I'm not very surprised. And these guys at Grim, these guys are pretty awesome. They have written an automatic struct finder, because one of the chapters in Geardrift, which I finally actually didn't put in my class yet because it's really painful, you have these C++ data structures that are big, horrible things with like functions, an array of objects of different types. And it doesn't automatically detect them. And so they wrote this thing, so it will automatically detect if what you have is a data structure. And when you reverse compile the data, when you take it back to C, like this, it will figure it out. So here's the example. So the recovered structures are on the right. So here, it just finds independent things, and here it figures out that there is a structure, and the structure has different entries inside it. So anyway, they say it'll help you develop a fuzzer. So have a more automatic fuzzer to find vulnerabilities and such. So this is a good thing. Gear shit. I don't know why they use that. But anyway, this is the, so Ghidra is going to get even stronger, just like Ida and Ollie, as everybody plugs in these plugins. And it's good to watch. So now we got interference steam spam.
Yeah. So they, the spammers and hackers are wasting no time. It basically, yeah, they are taking advantage of people's ignorance by sending out tons of these emails. And it's interesting because this is sort of part of an ongoing story where they've been doing this for a while. They just keep changing the subject matter to reflect current events.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that it's still so effective, but it is. So
Yeah, anything that gets people excited. So they'll click on the link, which is basically what's wrong with all the social media and most of the news now. It's there just to get you angry because that's what gets you engaged.
Yeah. So they were using the election earlier to spread emotet. So different issue, different payload, same mechanism.
Yeah, anything that gets people emotional.
Yep.
This was pretty funny. It's yours, Irvin.
Yes, a company made their name. Where is it? It's a little further down. There it is. : greater than, less than script. There it is.
The name of the company was script source equals. Oh man.
But the first part is a cross-site script.
You know, I read one like this where a guy said, if you want to like check your company, just change the name of a customer in your database to the like fake virus. Test, and then watch, your whole company will freeze up and every product will stop and all the servers crash as everything seems to detect the malware in there.
Yeah. So they changed their name to that, and then they changed it now to that company whose name used to contain HTML script tag.
Yep. They've apparently this one's been done before. Yeah,
that one's been done before.
And of course, this probably crashes everything everywhere. And didn't Elon Musk name his child something ridiculous like this?
Yeah, but then they made him change it because it was like screwing up. It would like screw up the state database system.
But you know, that's not illegal for you to use a funny name. He could sue.
True.
Well,
But
apparently the state of California wasn't having it.
yeah.
Well, you know, I think Musk would be the guy to push it to the wall. I mean, if you got a lawyer and pushed it to the wall, I don't think the state of California has the authority to tell you can't have a stupid name. But I guess we could find out anyway.
Right.
So what made them decide to quit doing this?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
They discovered there were problems.
Yeah. Really? They discovered there were problems.
He didn't realize it would be an issue.
Of course they didn't.
Well, I guess it's one way to get some free press anyway.
Right? And I've just found it funny.
I like their new name, the company whose name used to contain script tags. Okay. That's like Prince, right? The artist formerly known as Prince. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, do they actually have any products or anything? It's just the name, right?
It's just the name.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, and car data. Well, this sounds good.
Yep. So Massachusetts passed a right to repair measure for automobiles. So this only applies to automobiles. And basically what it does is that it requires automakers to sell vehicles with telemaltic, with systems installed so that they are standardized with like open data platforms.
Really?
Yeah. So there are some security implications, but all the security implications, of course, are all just security by obscurity. Like, how can we not obscure? How can we be secure and not obscure our platform? So I don't take much. I take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, so the right to repair movement is growing. And the reason why I think this is really important right now is because Apple just released the iPhone 12. And if I've seen videos on YouTube of somebody buying 2 iPhone 12s, opening up one, taking the camera out of one and swapping it in with the other, and then the phone would not work anymore. Apple is very maliciously, or yeah, I'll say maliciously, making their phones unable to be repaired. Even if you have 2 of the exact same models, brand new, the phones will not work. And of course, if you swap the cameras back, they'll work again. So they're just like matching up the hardware unnecessarily.
Yep. It reminds me of the printer ink, which HP is the head of making it impossible to use anything except the official ink.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm surprised that you can explain that to the voters and win. That's impressive.
I mean, Massachusetts, I know is very urban.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a much easier sell to actually, I think the rural areas where right to repair is much more important, where you have, farm equipment.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that sounds great. I hope it spreads across. I'd like to see open standards all over the place. I think this is another cure for our social media problem too. I mean, my cluster of friends has fractured into the people that will use Twitter, the people who only use Facebook, the people who only use email, the people who only use the telephone. It really would be nice if there was a tool that reached all the platforms that we could use. Anyway, good.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because, you'd think California would be really well informed on this stuff, but we still passed Proposition 24 because it sounded good on paper, which is the privacy. It's the privacy, new private internet digital privacy laws, which, it sounded great on the ballot, but it's really not so great once you start digging into the nuts and bolts of what's actually involved. And I'm impressed with Massachusetts for passing this, but I'm also kind of wondering, how can we? It seems like one thing I noticed in California was it seemed like that whatever ballot measures there were with the most money won't win now. And that's
what's wrong with 24? Is it just that it's not going to protect us, or is it going to do something awful?
It's not going to protect us, but it's also going to do some awful stuff. And it's essentially going to, I think it's going to lead to essentially having to pay companies in order to preserve your privacy. And it's also going to do things like give the service providers more power in order to combine data from different companies, and which can be used against you. I remember reading something that it would cause it to make it harder for you to make sure that your data gets deleted if you don't want it on a platform anymore. Right now we have sort of this right that, if you've got our stuff, you have to either give it to us or delete it. But this, and the problem is it's, these things are 50 or 100 pages long, so you can bury all kinds of crap in there.
Yep. Well, all right. That's interesting stuff. And now I got, this I thought is pretty good. Remember, they're going to, Musk is putting up thousands of satellites, but this is an alternative. They put up this drone, it stays up for 8 days, and it gives you 5G. And you can just have a flight of these things. Doesn't clutter up space anyway. It sounds like a pretty good idea. I remember there was something about 10 years ago where they're going to put up balloons. And this thing is powered by hydrogen.
Up there for days?
Yeah, it's powered by hydrogen. And it just floats up there for 8 days, and it's your antenna. So you just cycle them up and you can create an area of 5G coverage, just the way Musk wants to do for the whole world. But it sounds like a low-cost solution to me.
Cool.
Yeah.
And now I want a drone with hydrogen power.
Yeah, I know. Who doesn't? Sounds great. I did order the antenna stuff to try doing what Kaitlyn did with the weather satellites. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, I'll be on that road.
Nice.
And
these last two go together, games about hacking got hacked.
Ha!
What a concept. And yeah, these guys, it's kind of funny because this one's like an actual video game about hacking that apparently had really poor security controls, which is really just like putting a sign on your back that says "kick me" and walking through an elementary school. And kind of the same with the Deloitte one, even though that one to me for some reason is even funnier. Just I guess just because they're like a Big Four consulting company, and that one they're like, oh okay, let's test your
This one on Twitter.
hacker IQ. Yeah, and it lasted like 2 days.
And it left the password in a publicly accessible file.
Oh yeah, just complete like day one stuff that.
Well, you know, this is what happens. I remember years ago, I went to one of my hacking classes, and the guy said there was this other instructor, and he would go up here and say, "I'm very secure. Nobody can hack me." And then, why is my computer not working? Why won't this page open? Oh, my PowerPoint's broken. What happened? You know, he said, "Whatever you do, never say that." Especially around Kaitlyn, never say, "Nobody could hack me."
Right. And you know, it was pretty funny just because they're, you know, play stupid games, get stupid prizes.
This is like I saw all over Twitter, the Republicans put up a phone number and say, "Call this phone number if you see any voter fraud." And of course, all the liberals in the world called them to report silly things to like clog up the number. And
well, and I mean, this was just dumb from the start because, you know, they built it on a deprecated version of Ubuntu, and just one thing after another, one poor decision after another, which, you know, I mean, there is something to be said for leading by example, I guess.
yeah, well, I got a bunch of stuff deliberately run on old versions of junk to get hacked, but that's the point. So, anyway.
Yes.
So, then Pegasus. All right, what is Pegasus?
Pegasus, I think, is something that might interest Kaitlyn. So it is a hardware and software IDS IPS. So you can use an FPGA with this, and they have a recommendation of which one to use. But it's using Snort and using an FPGA to be an active IDS IPS.
100 gigs. That equipment must cost a lot.
That's my thought.
Yeah,
But
so
it seems like an interesting idea.
yeah, a lot of FPGAs development boards have Ethernet built in just for this purpose, that it is quicker if you don't actually have to process packets through a CPU where you have to deal with, like, you know, clock cycles and stuff. If you know that a certain bit, you're looking for like a certain bit, you can just pass that through, you know, filters in FPGA, and it can be a lot faster.
Yeah, and that's part of the instructions there of, if it's gonna inspect a packet, then it'll send it up to the CPU. Otherwise, it'll look at it right there and there.
This is what the Cisco competitor, whose name I forget, the one that switched to OpenBSD, their firewall. Not Palo Alto. The original Cisco competitor was originally Cisco engineers. Their firewall does this. It looks for quick passes, looking for one bit, and it looks at only the first byte in a multi-byte passage and stuff to make the throughput faster. Anyway.
The only OpenBSD that I can think of off the top of my head is pfSense.
No, they teach something, their certification, something as a second language. I can't remember the name of the company. Maybe it should be on my certifications. Let me, I should have like a profile somewhere. Oh, there we are.
Are you talking about Juniper?
Juniper, that's it. That's the name.
Juniper.
That's how Juniper firewalls work. They're very proud of the fact they don't inspect every packet. They inspect the first packet out of a stream, and they look for just one bit, and they have these fast, that's how they can keep up with fast data, supposedly.
Wow.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, it also probably means there are exploitation holes, but that's inevitable, I think.
Right.
All right. Any more comments?
Other than the election?
Well, yeah, the election is maybe over, right? I mean,
Biden just won Nevada 15 minutes ago.
Oh, wow.
Right? So they just called it, I know, they just called Pennsylvania like half an hour ago or an hour. And I assume that Trump will do something outrageous any minute now.
Oh, for sure.
So
Yeah,
it's probably not.
Giuliani just said he's not going to concede.
Well, yes, and I assume he'll send Giuliani to say something outrageous and call on his army to like riot or something. We'll see what happens.
He tweeted that he was going to have a press conference at like Four Seasons landscaping and fertilizer or something. And it's like, I think you meant to say Four Seasons the hotel, but that's appropriate.
Well, I expect there'll be more drama, but I think in reality it's over.
Well,
Yeah.
I have every faith in the White House staff to remove any trespassers who may be there after.
Yeah, I don't think the Secret Service is going to. Well, I should say I feel sorry for the Secret Service members that are tasked with being his guardian detail after this.
Well, I don't actually think he relied on them at any point, which I thought was actually pretty smart. He had his private security service all along. I certainly wouldn't trust
realize that.
Yeah.
I didn't
Anyway,
realize that he had his own team.
he did. He refused to remove his private bodyguards when he became president, and I thought that was one of his smart moves because the Secret Service was turned into sort of a clown show after the DHS took over under Obama. I mean,
Yeah,
at that time period, they had so many scandals. So
that's pretty interesting.
yeah. Well, anyway, all right, I'll stop the recording.